All right, Justin, pumped and excited to talk to you about the Warrior Dad experience. Let's start first. Family dynamic, what you do for work.
Yeah, family dynamic. So married to my wife Kelly, it'll be 19 years this October. We got three boys. Noah's 13, Ethan's 10, Levi's 6. Super active, lots of sports, busy schedules. For work, I do commercial real estate development in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Gotcha. Awesome. So you jumped into the experience. What was the trigger? What was the reason for jumping in?
Yeah, a couple things, Jeff. I mean, first, I've been following your LinkedIn posts for a while, and there was one in particular that grabbed me, and it was this whole concept of by the time your children are 12 or 13, you've spent 75% of the time you're going to spend with them. And with my oldest son Noah being 13, I mean, that one hit me like right square between the eyes. And I think, prior to the experience, good father, engaged father, but that whole concept of time and time passing me by, passing us by, really got a hold of me. And honestly, man, frankly, I felt like I was in a little bit of a rut,
Okay.
wasn't as engaged at home as I should be, kind of distracted by work, distracted by competing priorities. And you felt like I was good, but wanted to be great
Mm.
and felt like I needed some help to get there.
Love it. Love it. So you jumped into the experience, 10 weeks. What are kind of top three? I know we both love the number
Yeah.
three, right? What were top three lessons learned, things you got out of it that really impacted you?
Yeah, for sure. So first, I think what the experience did for me, with your help, was really put some structure and discipline into my life, and that's at home, that's at work, really
Mm.
across the board, friendships. I mean, you name it, it touched every aspect of my life, and I'll get to that in a minute. In particular, for me, the morning fire routine
Mhm.
was hugely impactful. I mean, just getting up bright and early, stacking wins, really before all the pressures of home, before all the pressures of work start to stack,
Right.
you're stacking ahead of that, right? You're getting these wins in, you're being intentional about how your relationship with yourself first, so you can then be the best version for your wife and your kids
Mhm.
and your team at work. Right? That was really powerful for me. I think one of the other things that stood out was um, the power in simplicity,
Okay.
and how effective these simple but impactful tools that you've armed us with over these 10 weeks can be. On that front, one that really stood out to me, and I say it every day like a mantra to myself, is accept the bid, accept the bid,
Mm.
accept the bid, right? And this whole concept of saying yes to your kids.
Mm.
Go shoot hoops. I mean, 2 weeks ago, my youngest son Levi, we were finishing dinner, and we were kind of cleaning up. Kelly and I were talking, and he came up to me with a deck of Uno cards. And he's like, "Dad, you want to play Uno?" And it's like, "Absolutely, sit
Oh.
down and let's play." And Kelly is a great mom. Was kind of like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm accepting the bid."
Mm.
Like that, because if you don't, they'll stop asking.
Right.
And there's a lot of power in this 10-minute game of Uno for Levi. Simple, but important to him, and like a great connection moment. And he's talked about it since then, right? And then I think and then another one, kind of simple, effective. We talked about stacking wins and the structure and the discipline of the morning fire. I think another takeaway is stacking growth,
Mm.
right? So as you're working out, instead of listening to music, which I think is great, instead of listening to Dave Matthews, like listen to an audiobook, right?
Mm.
Or you're in the car and you got 15, 20 minutes in between meetings, throw an
Right.
audiobook on, right? Those are great little micro moments to grow and be the best version of yourself. Uh, and then I think that the final point is, it was super impactful with my relationship with Kelly, my relationship with my kids. Um, and I know the intent is not to be a professional coach, but it was profound at work
Mm.
as well.
Okay.
So stacking wins is now, I lead a team of 14 or so people here in Raleigh, small team, but stacking wins is part of our vernacular
Gotcha.
now.
Nice.
And I've impressed that on my team at work. Like, hey, we even write them. I've got a sheet of paper we write them on, and it's like something small. You know, we focus on the really big. Like, we signed this huge deal, but there were 40 steps that got us to that deal. When you get a small win that is pushing us down the path on that deal, write it on the board, stack the win,
Yep.
right? It inspires everybody. So those were some of my big takeaways, and I think lessons learned and things that I will carry now with me after the experience.
Love it. And I just want to pull one thread, because as you were talking, Justin, conversations with your boys. Now, how have they evolved through this process? Because I remember you mentioned one or two or three times, right? How has that dynamic kind of changed? And what are the conversations about, right? Now?
So I think that's another, really profound aspect of this, especially for me leading young men in my home, is the power of that communication and being open. Because I think especially as men, we're sometimes wired to be a little bit more keep to ourselves, a little bit more insular. And I think going through and sharing these challenges, sharing this goal setting with my boys, and then actually having real conversations around it has been powerful. The example I'll give is, I think week 8, maybe we did week 8 or week 9, we did the cold shower challenge, right? And I challenged my 13-year-old Noah to do it with me. And he did, and it was awesome. And that challenge led to this hour-long conversation on a Friday night sitting on our porch, where it started with Noah and I. And he actually, his credit, he approached me and said, "Dad, how was the cold shower challenge for you this week?" And he wanted to tell me about it. And what was really powerful was he and I talked about it for 5 or 10 minutes. Well, Ethan and Levi saw us sitting out there talking, and so they came out to the back patio, and we ended up sitting out there for an hour talking about the reasons I signed up for the experience, the growth that I had experienced, how it had impacted them, and how we could all carry it forward and step into growth, for the rest of our lives, and set a plan for growth for the rest of our lives. And it was really, really powerful and impactful. And I think the other, that's a tangible example. But what I would say another thing the experience did for me was it raised my overall awareness about the profound power that we have in leading our children, right? Another example I'll give you, and I think I talked about one week, was letting someone borrow a nickel at a cash register. Really tiny and dumb, but my 10-year-old Ethan saw that, and post that, we had this amazing conversation about the power of generosity, the power of being just a good human being. And he had to take with it. He was like, "Dad, if more people did stuff like this, the world would be a much better place." And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Jeff Wickersham, Justin Parker can't fix the world, but what we can do is we can model those behaviors to our sons, and then you've got this amazing ripple effect that comes off of that, right? Then they're doing it at church, they're doing it at school, they're doing it in the hockey locker room, the basketball locker room, whatever it is. And I just think that having that awareness of the power you have in modeling and honest conversations and talking about growth was kind of like something I'd thought about in the past, but had never really, hadn't really honestly applied it. And it's huge.
No, I love that. Yeah, the ripple effect is so profound, right?
Yeah.
When we think about that spurs us on to do more of those things, and then then we can change the world together. So, if Dad's watching this on the fence, hey, do I jump into the experience? Do I not? What would you say to him?
So first of all, I would say 110% do it, right? But only do it if you're prepared to commit to it. because you will get out of it as much as you put in. And I think in today's world, there are so many distractions.
Yep.
There are, and it starts, and you and I talked about this on my kickoff call, right?
Right.
Our
Yeah.
first one-on-one. It's there's a picture of my family there. It's this, right? It's really, it's both, it's an incredible tool. It's also the devil in
Yep.
one little device. And we are so distracted by work, distracted by social media, distracted by competing pressures, that it gets you in this almost, I mean, speaking of me personally, it gets you in this kind of this spiral, right? That you can't work out of. And what the experience does is it gives you those tools, the necessary structure, the necessary discipline, to navigate that, and really to prioritize and focus on what's important. Focus on the relationship with yourself. Soak up those micro moments with your wife. Soak up those micro moments with your kids, with your sons and your daughters. So I would 110% recommend the experience to anyone that's considering it. It's incredibly powerful and profound, but you will get out of it what you put into it.
Yep.
And you got to be prepared to commit and to, steal a phrase from you, burn the boats.
Yep. Yep. So true. Justin, appreciate it, my man.
Absolutely, buddy. Happy to do it. My pleasure. Incredible experience. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.